One of the huge takeaways, one of the huge goals of this program is to be able to recognize what neutral is in your spine, to be able to put your brain back in touch with the things that get you and keep you in that neutral position. That way, everything that you do during the day is a reflection of that state that's not compressive to your body, the state that allows you to use these big moving muscles off of the small stabilizers. So we want to make sure that before you do any core program, you want to make sure that you're actually using your core. And so I start with doing this activation series. So the activation series attempts to wake up those small steering muscles by putting your brain into that awareness of what neutral spine feels like, and introducing slowly motion to the pelvis, to the spine, off of that neutral motion, so we're sure that the small muscles are working. We live our whole day using these like big compressive muscles, like in this sympathetic state of stress that oftentimes we get into. These big muscles are firing when they have no business firing. And so if we go to work out in the middle of our day off of that system, very often we are actually contracting the wrong muscles altogether. And that can result in compression in the spine and an inability to access the muscles that we're trying to train. So here we go. First is just breathing through our diaphragm. So if you have a history of practicing this, being aware of your breathing, maybe through yoga or meditation or other exercise modality, this will go quickly for you. But for a lot of us, this could take a few minutes, like just to lay here and visualize kind of what's happening. So real quick, the diaphragm, when it contracts, it pushes down, essentially. So it's creating a three-dimensional expansion of your abdomen. So you're not just belly breathing to the ceiling. There should be a three-dimensional excursion of the abdominal contents. So what you're going to do is first see what your natural breathing pattern is. So one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest. Now what should happen, go ahead and take in a big breath. What should happen is belly rises, chest rises, belly comes down, chest comes down. It should happen kind of in that progression. So see what yours does naturally, without judgment or expectation. Don't change it yet, just notice. Now, with your low back relaxed, no pressure into your feet, try to breathe belly up first, then belly down. Again. And recognize that fullness of the low back as you continue to do that breath. When you breathe in, that low back should come gently into the floor. Just a couple more. Now, just lying here, you should already be able to tell a change in your position here lying on your back. More of your low back, more of your shoulders should be able to kind of rest onto the floor. Now the second one's a pelvis tilt and pelvis clock. So you transition right into this. So now just do a small pelvis tilt as if you're pulling the small of your back against the floor and then rolling it away. There should be no pressure in your feet here, and your belly should stay completely relaxed. You should be able to push in and feel that relaxed stomach as you go through that transition. Sometimes that's very hard. It's very awkward, and that's why we're doing this at the beginning of the exercise program, is to make sure that your body is in touch with these small muscles that stabilize your spine. Now, let's say I'm going to 12 o'clock now. The clock is on the ceiling facing me. So 1 o'clock would be slightly up and to the right. Now I'm going to open up my pelvis, leading to that 1 o'clock time, while still maintaining a relaxed belly. an even breathing pattern. I'm talking, so I'm not a good example of that right now. Recognize how the left aspect of your pelvis is leading the way up and to the right as you do a couple more of these. Now we're going to go up and to the left. For me, this would be 11 o'clock with my visual. And recognize, just like you did in that self-test, is one side more elusive than the other? Is it harder to get up to 11 than to 1? Now, for the purposes of this activation, at the beginning of your stabilization circuit, okay, now go into hands and knees. We're going to do the same exact clock of the pelvis, but what you're going to do is you're going to introduce motion first to a tuck of the pelvis, then feel how that can pull each segment of the spine up almost into like a cat posture. So ready? So tuck your tail just like you did in that pelvis tilt, and then let it drop up your spine and then tuck your chin. When you get up into an angry cat, now do the opposite with the pelvis and feel how segment by segment it can change into this extended cow position. Now I'm going to do the opposite. So it drags my chin down, and just do that a couple of times. We're trying to teach the brain how each of these vertebrae can move independently. If this feels like super awkward and challenging, feel like, man, Aaron, I drop and everything just like moves together and I can't feel the separate vertebrae, no worries. Like that's pretty typical the first time you do it. And that's why you are working with this to try to draw attention to those movements. After you've done that a few times, go ahead and rest. Now we're going to go to the holds, the contraction holds. And so we want to wake up the core system as a unit with the flexors and with the extensors. So for the flexors, I want you to lift up a leg and then push on the inside front aspect that way. So for me, my left hand is pushing out and to the right slightly. And feel the ability of your leg to come back into my hand. Assess, can I keep my belly relaxed as I push this? Now switch. Did one feel like it was easier? If one felt like it was easier, let's say that was my right side that felt easier, I'm going to start the press on the left. So here we go. Leg up to 90 degrees, back flat. I'm tilted to that 12 o'clock position, belly relaxed, and push. I'm pushing so slight. I'm like going into the skin, into my muscle, and then I stop. I want to push so slight and keep a relaxed stomach so that the big muscles that typically would do this motion, they're not even cued off that they're supposed to do anything. I'm keeping my breathing easy so that the brain's sort of like, hey, Aaron wants to like tap into these small muscles. So big muscles, you guys stay quiet or something. And so we're just giving it this offering of a light pressure, right? So that over time, it's called temporal summation and spatial summation, these concepts where this pressure irradiates down to that leg from my brain and the nerves wake up and kick in the core. And so I have clients all the time, keep holding, clients all the time who are like, man, Aaron, I don't know if I'm doing this right, I really don't feel much, or I don't understand maybe all the physiology behind it. That's fine. As long as you're tilted with your pelvis, belly relaxed, in the correct position, doing a gentle press, it will do its job. Now, it should feel like it's a little bit more connected, like familiar to this contraction, without letting the back arch. Keep the tailbone off the ground and lift the other leg. Now push. Shins are parallel. I'm pushing so slightly with my hands, shoulder blades staying down towards the ground. Now it's okay that the belly tenses. I'm holding a lot of weight in my legs here. But you've got to make sure that low back stays flat. If the back muscles feel tense here, you got to give it that extra force to roll the tailbone. You must stay flat in the back. And when we give our body this offering right before we work out, right before we start our day, it's amazing how much more likely you are to work from that system during every other activity that you complete. Keep holding. A little quiver is probably normal here. Keep checking that back, keep checking your shoulders. See, my chin is tucked, my toes are up, and rest. After a breath or two, return your feet back to the ground, push every toe into the ground equally with your heels. You have 12 points of equal pressure going down to the ground, every toe, each heel. I'm going to reach up and out with my knee, keeping my pelvis tilted into a bridge. Set my shoulder blades, and I hold. It's amazing how the toe pressure can really change that feeling of your bridge. I have zero tension in my low back. There should be nothing happening back there. Pelvis tilted, and my belly is still completely soft. I am not clenching my abs. Stay right here. Lift one leg. Now lift the other. Which one felt harder to you? Let's say that my left feels harder here. I will lift this other side and I do my hold here. So do this with me. Make sure your toes are still in, pinky toe and all the way across to your big toe. Now if it's super hard to hold this and your pelvis is starting to tip to a side, or you feel like your pelvis is dropping, you can use this other side to assist you. So let's say that right now I've got 90% pressure through this and 10% through this. So I'm giving enough help with this right side so that I don't lose height and so that I don't tip my pelvis. Keep holding. There should be a straight line from shoulders to knees. I usually say about 60 to 90 seconds here. Let's go just a little bit longer. Make sure you're breathing through the belly, tailbone still tucked, pressure into these toes, helping just the slightest bit with this other leg. Now rest. Now after a little while, again, it's variable with how long you need to do these holds. Now recheck. When you bridge up, does it feel like they're both working a little bit more to a similar degree? The goal would be that we flooded input to that inhibited side so that now it's more ready to work for us. Maybe try that pelvis tilt again. Maybe you find that you're more able to keep belly relaxed and that pelvis tilt is more familiar to you. These are all tools that are going to become so helpful now that you start your exercise circuit.